Welcome to Deep Thought. Think about the coming times in your life. Now, last week I talked about a lot of change in society and everything, and trust me, it's going to be a long change. It's going to be a long change, and we ain't talking about just like the next few years. I would say the next 20 years and everything. But whatever the case, think about the change in your life. Think about the coming times in your life, because at the end of the day, that's who we're responsible for. I don't care about the political situation, economic situation, spiritual situation, different social movements that may come up. At the end of the day, you got to be concerned about yourself. And you need to be thinking about it. Yeah, this cool. It's a cool spiritual thing to say, okay, be in the moment. And yes, you do want to be in the moment, but you really got to do both. You got to be in the moment, but you also got to think, okay, what's coming up? Yeah, you don't want to be totally in the future, but you want to still think about it. You don't want to be totally in the present, but you still want to be it. And it's something, maybe I'll talk about it on another video, but you still got to think, okay, you got all this stuff coming. You got all these changes. How are you going to survive? You got to be thinking maybe not just days ahead, maybe years ahead. What are you doing? Like on my money channel, I always talk about having a good savings. And that savings is not so much to make money, but to have an emergency fund because something could happen. If you, like right now, we got major layoffs, not just with the government, but also in the private industry. You got to think about, okay, how you going to survive that? I've talked about on my business channel having side businesses and stuff. You thinking ahead. But it's not even just for making money or anything like that. You got to think in terms of what you want to do in life, who you are as a person and everything. Like the main thing I'm known about is talking about man gets woman. I'm known for talking about mating and everything. You got to think about your mate in the coming times. Like when you dealing with somebody, you got to think, is this somebody I can deal with long term or is this short term? Now, I would say this. If you're thinking about a mate, yeah, people will talk about having like a one night stand or something like that. But you still got to think, okay, could this be a problem down the road, even if it's a one night stand? And it could be. That's how you have to think. Now, if you think this might not be a problem or something, because I don't know who you are or, your situation, yeah, it might be cool. Hey, you say, hey, I can hook up with this person right now. But then you got to think, okay, is this somebody I want to deal with long term? Your friends in your life. You got to think about your life, like all angles of it. If you buying a house or something, you got to think, is this the neighborhood you want to live in? Is this the neighborhood you want to stay in? You got to be thinking long term about it. Is these the people you want to be around? What's going on? You got to think, how's everything going on personally? How's everything affecting you personally? That's how you have to look at it. How is everything touching you personally? Like everything going on. And don't be one of those people like, oh, they ain't affecting me. And so, no, because we live in a fishbowl. Something happening like in a foreign country that you've never been to, you probably couldn't find on a map or something. Something could happen there that could affect you. You got to be looking at everything. How will this affect you? How will this affect you? You got to think about, you got to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at it from a bird's eye view. You can't just be stuck. There's many people, they ain't thinking. I've seen many people. They'll think something happening over here ain't gonna affect them. And it was like, yeah, but it was coming. Because one of the things I do, I pay attention to every little thing. Every little thing, economically, socially, everything. I think about movements. You know, I remember, and I think I mentioned this on one of these episodes. I remember I was just in a store and I saw a symbol I hadn't seen before. And I actually looked the symbol up and I said, okay, you know, I don't know. Like it was a symbol I hadn't seen before, but what if a movement gets around that particular symbol? Because I was able to find the symbol online easily. All I did was just subscribe and find it easily. I was like, there's a movement that could happen there. You know, when somebody's talking about something or whatever, I'm paying attention to it. Because if they might say something talking about, you know, a particular philosophy or a spiritual system or a political thing, and I'm sitting there thinking, how can this affect me long term? Indeed, I'll just say this. A lot of stuff happening now, I saw this back decades ago. I saw this decades ago. A lot of stuff happening now, politically, spiritually, whatever. Because I was looking, I was thinking, my main thing was like, how will this affect me? How will this affect my life? You got to look ahead. Yeah, still being in the moment, like when I was there and dealing with the moment, but still paying attention. You know, I was like, oh, okay, you got this movement starting to build now. What will it do later? Like I'll just say like political movements now, I can trace, I was seeing this back in the 90s, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that, all right? Because you have to just, one of the things you want to learn in life is seeing the big picture, seeing where something can go. Paying attention to it. Even if it don't look like it might not mean anything, keeping it in mind. Like I said about that symbol, I saw this, I think it was a young man wearing it. And I was like, oh, okay, let me just pay attention to that. Like, let me keep that in the back of my mind. I ain't thinking about it every day, but if I see it again, then I'm like, oh, okay. Or, you know, if I see a bunch of people marching around protesting something and I see that symbol, I was like, oh, okay. You know, because a lot of stuff, I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of stuff does start in the shadows. Because I mentioned something about change last week and someone had mentioned it's not really change, it's shadows coming out. It's just stuff coming from the shadows. Yeah, I'm paying attention. I pay attention to the shadows. I pay attention to something that's not talked about. Because one thing, even with the news media or social media, they don't cover everything. There's a lot of stuff not covered by the media now that's happening. But I'm looking at that in terms of the big thing. How's it affected me? I always look at everything. I don't care what it is. Like you got massive layoffs now, both in the government and in private industry. I'm looking at, trust me, I'm like looking at that. It's like, how could that affect me? And I already seen how that could affect me, maybe right now, but maybe down the road. And I'm paying attention to it and already taking the actions necessary. Already taking the actions. So if something happened, I'm not affected by it personally. So that's how you have to be, all right? Think about the coming times, but in your life, how everything happening can touch you. Like I said, something happening in another country could touch you here. You know, you don't have to maybe study it, just pay attention to it. You know, think about how everything happening can touch you, all right? So anyway, that's all I have for today. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.